government, perhaps fearing retribution from President Trump, tried to block the group from crossing into the Mexico-Guatemala frontier. But as you can see here, the crowd broke down the gates and started streaming in. Police using pepper spray were able to finally stop the rest of the caravan, but not after many got through. Now, the Ingraham Angle spoke exclusively tonight with a Mexican official who told us the following. The migrants are using women, and some pregnant, and children at the front of this line in an effort to intimidate the Mexican police. So obviously they're not going to use force against women and children. And the same official relayed to us that there are currently 1,000 Mexican federales at its border with Guatemala. Reinforcements are being sent in as we speak. And the police are telling this source that many of the people inside the caravan grew violent today, injuring 6 to 7 Mexican police officers who themselves have no weapons except shields, and they do have some batons if things get bad, and tear gas. The official closed his conversation with the Ingraham Angle saying following, we will not allow our country to be literally invaded from the south. It is critical now to take a stand, because if this model is the immigration model going forward, you will see a caravan of this size coming every week. So Mexico has its own interest in stopping these caravans from flying through Mexico. And now what you see right here is not from the caravan, but take a look at this video Fox News obtained. This is yesterday morning at 3:30 a.m. in Yuma, Arizona. Now you can see 4 different groups of illegals climbing over the border wall, dropping right into the United States. And as President Trump said last night, this could be the election of the caravan. And I wanted to bring in right now former House Speaker Newt Gingrich. Newt, thanks for being here tonight. A big night. Let's start with this caravan issue. The president said this could be the election of Kavanaugh and the caravan. Kavanaugh, we understand, because of fairness and due process, and men feel like they're being targeted unfairly. Why is this caravan issue important both to Mexico and, of course, to the United States?
Well, the caravan brings into vivid attention that the Feinstein open borders bill and then Speaker Pelosi's attitude about immigration are such big dangers to the country. The Gallup World Poll did a survey, and in Latin America and the Caribbean, there are 179 million people who would like to come to the U.S. 179
well, our country is 320 million, right?
That's to be over half the population. Right. And what we have to confront is exactly what that Mexican official said. If we're not prepared to stop this caravan, how big will the next one be? How many will there be? And I think this puts Democrats, frankly, in a very difficult box. They don't like to control the border. They don't like to stop immigration. In fact, Stacey Abrams, the Democratic candidate for governor of Georgia, said she regarded the undocumented and the documented as equal. So she's basically saying, if you get here illegally, you're part of her majority coalition. San Francisco's passed a rule that allows people here illegally to vote. So the Democrats are now caught in that as people watch this.
These are devastating images. No, well, look at these images. They're devastating.
You talk about mobs versus jobs. You're seeing exactly the kind of mob behavior that the Democrats have led to.
About 2 blocks from here, Newt, there's a homeless shelter. Any given night, there are individuals outside waiting to get in. There are not enough beds. They're on the streets. They're destitute. Many of them former military. They're veterans, down on their luck. Some with mental health issues, some not. Some just down on their luck. A lot of, I think, Americans, and I noticed this on radio today, they give to various organizations, international organizations that help children in need, including in Central America, like Food for the Poor, all these great organizations. They say, look, we have a lot of problems here. We're compassionate people. We do not want to feel like we're bad people or horrible people, because we don't want to say anyone who wants to come in can come in. But when you see these pictures, this is the proof of what no consequences for crossing into our country illegally will bring. These individuals, gosh, you can't even blame them. They know if they get a foothold into the United States, Newt, what happens?
Well, look, they're carrying the Honduras flag.
Right.
This is an invasion. This is an act of attacking the United States sovereignty. And the fact
right now, Mexico. And I want to thank the Mexican officials and the Mexican police who are putting their lives on the line and getting a lot of grief from leftist politicians who are happy to give Trump a pain in the you-know-what over this issue.
Well, I think actually this is the best Mexico's ever been.
Ever.
I attribute that to President Trump and Secretary Pompeo, but also I think to the Mexican government beginning to realize that this is going to be a crisis. You can't have thousands and thousands and thousands of people decide to break the law and have any expectation that civilization is going to withstand it.
I want to hear from Mike Pompeo addressing the issue of women and children being used, Newt, as a type of human shield. Let's watch.
This is a large group of people. They are putting women and children in front of the caravan to use as shields as they make their way through. This is an organized effort to come through and violate the sovereignty of Mexico, and so all that we can to support the decisions that Mexico makes about how they're going to address this very serious and important issue to their country.
Newt, I think this is a major challenge, as you said, to the Democrat Party. They have embraced open borders. They have welcomed in low-skilled workers, low-wage workers, as have some Republicans. Let's be very clear about this over the years, because it keeps wages down, and a lot of businesses are happy with that. They get cheap labor, pay them cash. They don't complain. They live 10 in a house. And it's good for some of these construction work crews in D.C., most of them speaking Spanish, hardworking people. But nevertheless, it has hurt American industries, from landscaping to roofing to plumbing. The list goes on. I'm telling you, this is a mistake for the Democrats to embrace this. A huge mistake.
And I think the whole imagery that you now have these people, I mean, first of all, they're political activists. They're not refugees. They're political activists. You raised the question last week, which I keep raising on Twitter. Who's paying for all this? As you mentioned to me just before the show, this has gone from 3,000 to now we think 5,000 people. It takes $7,000 a person. That's a $35 million project.
Huge.
Now, who's paying for it? And by the way, if it's an American group paying someone to come and break the law, that's called aiding and abetting, and that's a crime.
Yeah, the Lutheran Church and the Catholic Church does get about $90 million. The Catholic Church, Lutheran Church, not quite so much, to resettle migrants in the United States. So a lot of the migrants that cross the border we can't keep them, we don't have any housing, are then dropped at bus depots. William Lanchiness at Fox did a great report on this yesterday. And then they're transported all across the United States, first in shelters paid for by the Catholic Church, Lutheran Church, other organizations. They do get an enormous amount of money to do this. So there's an interesting like revolving door of cash from the federal government to these NGOs and 501c3s. I want to play a soundbite from tonight. The president, Newt, talking about this very issue. Let's watch in Mesa.
Right now, as you know, Mexico is on their southern border, and they're fighting some bad people in that group. You know, you see the people come up and you listen to the fake news back there and you think they're all wonderful people, right? No, you think, I'm serious. You think they're all wonderful people. You got some bad people in those groups. You got some tough people in those groups. And I'll tell you what, this country doesn't want them. Okay?
Yeah, and I think, again, America is a welcoming country. We love merit-based legal immigration, true refugees, a lot of Christians in the Middle East who have had a really hard time getting here. In Western Europeans try to get the visa lottery, which a lot of us want to get away with, do away with. But Newt, he's right. America, they see that this has gotten totally out of control, and it's just a question of fairness at this point to the American worker.
Well, it's also a question of fairness to people who have obeyed the law. Remember, we accept more legal immigrants
1 million a year
than any other country in the world.
1 million.
So those folks have all obeyed the law. They look over here at somebody who's breaking the law, and I think there's a lot of resentment of why are these people being able to break the law.
Newt, this was Jen Psaki, of course, former Obama administration official, on CNN talking about job growth. Speaking of the midterms, I want to play this.
The job growth has been the case for 6 years. The job growth was actually better in the last year of the Obama presidency than it was in the first year of the Trump presidency. So he's benefiting from that. The reality is that a good economy is good for politics for the person in charge.
It was better under Obama. Was manufacturing
Well,
jobs?
she had a better job under Obama. I think let's start with her. I mean, I think she had a better job.
It's a Friday night here. It's really fun.
No, you look. I mean, lowest African American unemployment in history, lowest Latino unemployment in history. I think we're now have the lowest general unemployment since like 1969. It's pretty hard not to believe that President Trump and his policies have made a very positive impact. The only major economy that's growing right now is the United States. None of the others are growing. And I think that we're doing something right. But I also think it comes back to this question, you know, we want to be a country that is welcoming to people who want to become Americans. And we want to become a country that's welcoming to people who want to obey the law and play by the rules. And I think this whole notion of jobs versus mobs is real. And you've seen it here at home with Democratic mobs. You're seeing it now trying to come up from Guatemala with a mob. And this is a very serious question. And you've had some very strange comments. I mean, the senator from Virginia who said that we ought to be punching and fighting in the streets. The former attorney general said we ought to be kicking Republicans.
Hillary saying we can't be civil,
you know,
until we win again.
That's right. So there's a
because they were so civil back then.
So there's all that we need to recognize that people have got to take a deep breath and ask themselves, what kind of America do you want to live in? And do you really want to live in an America where mobs are going to come into your restaurant to drive you out of it? Is that really what you're comfortable with? If you are, then you ought to vote Democrat.
I'm begging them to do that to me, Newt. I'm begging.
That'll be a great evening.
Bring it. That's all I can say. This was President Trump tonight speaking about what America ultimately over time turns into if this continues. Let's watch.
They will try to plunge our country into a nightmare of gridlock, poverty, and chaos. You know that. It's going to be a mess. Democrats want to raise your taxes, impose socialism on our country, turn us into a Venezuela, turn us into another Venezuela.
Now, Newt, is that just overstatement?
I don't think so. I think if you look at what the call, for example, the Democrats say they want to have universal health care for everybody. And in California, Gavin Newsom, the Democratic candidate for governor, says, and he would give it away to every illegal immigrant who showed up. Well, if word went out worldwide, get to California and they'll take care of your health care, the sheer cost of that would break the American system. And I think we need to understand, these are folks who don't have a clue about the real world. What they're focused on is power. They want power over you and me. They want power to define how we're allowed to behave. They know nothing about creating jobs and nothing about economic growth.
Well, the Democrats today are all up in arms because of President Trump's comments last night about the Gianforte, well, he's my kind of politician, body slamming the reporter. They're saying, well, this is at a time when Khashoggi was murdered at the consulate in Turkey, and the president is sending a terrible message about freedom of the press at a time where the press was attacked, obviously, in this murder.
Yes, and I think that the press will always be highly sensitive. You don't notice when we talk about how dangerous it gets, how often the press are prepared to say that it was the Republican whip, Steve Scalise, who was shot, that it has been Republicans recently in Nevada who've been beaten up, that it was a Republican headquarters in New York that Antifa destroyed. You don't see much understanding in the press about the level of oppression from the left.
Joaquin Castro, who's considered one of the shining bright lights in the Democrat Party, he's a congressman from San Antonio. He said this about Jared Kushner. Let's watch.
Let me get to the point that I think is most disturbing right now. The reporting that Jared Kushner may have, with U.S. intelligence, delivered a hit list, an enemies list, to the Crown Prince, to MBS in Saudi Arabia, and that the Prince then may have acted on that, and one of the people that he took action against is Mr. Khashoggi.
So Jared Kushner basically ordered a hit?
That particular comment is insane, literally insane. The fact is, Khashoggi is a public figure. Everybody in Saudi Arabia knew who he was. The idea that an American had to call and say, oh gosh, you may not have noticed this guy. I mean, you really have to wonder sometimes, are these people just living in some fantasy world with no connection with reality?
We're going to dip into President Trump's rally in Mesa. He's addressing immigration right now. Let's watch.
Not too good. You know what? They're lousy politicians. They have horrible policy. They do one thing well. They stick together. They really do. They stick together better than the Republicans. The one thing they do, and they don't want us to have the victory of a wall, even though we got much more money for our military, many, many times more. We got money, but they don't want us to have the wall, even though they know it's the right thing. They will fight to the death because they don't want us to have the wall, but we've started the wall anyway, and we're going to get that done. We're going to get it done. And now it's at a point, when you look, it's really at a point, when you look at what's pouring over in these caravans, when they start saying, we don't want to change those immigration laws that are so bad, catch and release, we don't want to change visa lottery. Think of visa lottery. They pick names out of a hat, visa lottery. Think about it. Do you think that this country, or whichever country it is, are they going to put their finest in there? I don't think so. I don't think so. Chain migration, you come over and then we had a guy on the West Side Highway. He goes down the highway. He's going 60, 70 miles an hour. Radical Islam, terrible. Makes a right turn into a park, kills 9 people, badly injures that nobody ever talks about. People that are running along the beautiful Hudson River because they want to stay in shape, they end up going home 6 months later with no legs, with no arms, because of people like this, sick people. These are sick people. And they's allowed, this guy had 22 people. He brought in his mother, his father, his brother, his sisters, his aunts, his uncles, because of Democrats' policy. That's called chain migration. It's a chain. Sounds so good, like right out of school. Sounds so beautiful. The chain. Everyone comes together. Nope. We're ending it, folks. And the Democrats don't want to do it, but we're ending it, folks. And catch and release. How about that? That's my favorite. Catch. You catch a damn killer. You catch a bad hombre. You catch a bad one. You take the name, and we're supposed to bring him to court. But we have hundreds of thousands of people, and it's all my fault. You know why? Because you, all together, we've made this country so strong economically, so good, jobs, everything, that everybody wants to come in. So it's my fault. But you know what? We're not letting them in. We only are going to let people in based on merit. We need people to come in based on merit. So you have catch and release. They put 1 foot. They don't need to. 1 foot. We have the greatest people. ICE, Border Patrol, law enforcement. And the law doesn't allow us to throw them the hell out. We have to take them, we have to write them up, and then we say, come back in 3 years for a court case. In the meantime, they're released into our society. And you know what the percentage of people that come back for the case? 3%. No, you're wrong. He said 0. You were slightly off. 3%. 3% show up 3 years, 4 years, 5 years later. It's a disgrace. And the Democrats do it. And we don't have enough votes. We don't have enough Republicans to override their negative vote because they do stick together. And remember this. They're only sticking together because they want to make sure that I and we don't get what they know our country needs. But I think they may be forced politically to do it, because I got to tell you, anybody that votes for a Democrat now is crazy. When you look at what's coming up, crazy. Got to be crazy. The Democrats don't care about what their extremist immigration agenda will do to your communities, your hospitals. How about your hospitals? They're being overrun. Your schools. California, they want to give you free education, free health care, open borders. I mean, we're going to have 10 million people move to California. This is the craziest thing. So here's what we do. Let's get these people out of there. There's something wrong. They're cuckoo. The Democrats don't care that a flood of illegal immigration is going to totally bankrupt our country. because all the Democrats want is power. And don't forget, everybody that comes across the border, for the most part, they're going to vote Democrat. They're not voting Republican. They're going to vote Democrat. So nobody said they're stupid, but it's bad for our country. But they're going to vote Democrat. No matter what we do, they will be voting Democrat, and they understand that. That's why Democrats support programs like catch and release. That's why Democrats want to give illegal aliens free welfare, free health care, and free education. Give them a driver's license. Give them a driver's license. Next thing you know, they'll want to buy them a car. Then they'll say the car's not good enough. How about a Rolls Royce? We want a Rolls Royce. Made not in America, so therefore I hope that's not what we do. That's why Democrats want to give illegal immigrants the right to vote. How about in California, where illegal immigrants took over the town council, and now the town council is run by illegal immigrants in a town? I mean, is this even believable? You tell the stuff. It is sick. That's why Democrats want to abolish ICE, the most brave people. These people, I wouldn't want their job. Nobody up here wants their job, I can tell by looking. They go into the toughest situations. We call them nests. Nests of very bad people. They don't like using guns. They'd much rather use knives because it's much more painful and slower. These are really bad people. And ICE goes in there, and it's like a day at the office. No problem. And they free towns like in Long Island. They liberate towns. It's like liberation from a war. They liberate towns. And the Democrats think that ICE isn't nice. We have to get rid of ICE. We cherish ICE, and we cherish Border Patrol, and we cherish our law enforcement. The casualties in the Democrats' open borders crusade are innocent American families and lives. And we have some of these incredible people with us tonight. Democrat immigration policies allow poisonous drugs, vicious gang members, and MS-13 killers to pour into our country. And we've done a great job. We have removed thousands of MS-13. Get them the hell out. Thousands. Thousands and thousands. And Democrat sanctuary cities release dangerous predators out of a jail and straight into your community.
We're going to dip back into the president's rally in moments, but I want to get to something else the president might comment on tonight. Longtime aide Philippe Reines telling Politico of Hillary's aide wouldn't rule out Hillary running for president in 2020. In fact, he even brags about how much support Hillary still has. Joining me now is Al Motor, who was on Hillary Clinton's campaign finance committee, and back with me is Newt Gingrich. Al, I want to start with you. Would Hillary seriously consider another run at it? I mean, she's looking good. I mean, I saw her on various shows. She looks very vigorous, healthy. She seems like she's still in the fight.
I think she's still in the fight, but I don't think she's going to run for president again.
Well, why is Philippe so insistent that she's still thinking about it?
Philippe is #1 on the team of pro-Hillary. But I just think, look, she's done a lot in her career. She's doing a lot now to help Democrats around the country. She's raising money right now prolifically for Democrats under age 35, which is a great thing for our party. But I think it's likely she'll stand aside and let others run for it.
So, like the vigorous young Joe Biden? Is that what it's saying?
I don't think it's good for America to go to the past, to be candid. I think we need new leadership in this country.
Yeah, the Trump White House, Newt, is giddy at the prospect of Hillary, considering this again, because I think they think, Russia gave it to Trump first time, and people just didn't have enough information. So now, if Hillary gets a second bite of the apple, she's very smart, she's very seasoned, she knows Trump, she knows how he plays in these debates, so why not?
Well, the thing I'm most struck with in this conversation is President Obama's campaign manager who tweeted the other day, "Why can't we stay on message?" If you have all these Democrats making news that totally distracts from winning the off-year election. So the last thing the average Democrat needs, imagine you're a red state Democrat in Indiana or in Missouri, and now you're going to be asked about Hillary Clinton running again. I mean, it's a nightmare.
Here's Clinton's favorability. We have the Gallup, the latest on this. In September of 2018, her favorability is at, well, 36%. Is that high? September 2016, it was 38%. So it's not going exactly in the right direction. But I would say that, look, the guy who has the number, is the highest in the polls, Hillary's not in the polls right now, to the extent that it matters, is Joe Biden. He's at about, what, 33%?
Absolutely.
Of all Democrats. He's out there. He's hitting Trump pretty much every other day. And he seems like he's hungry for it. He seems like he's tanned, rested, and ready.
He's definitely all of those things, and I think he does want to run for president. I just think it would be a tough race.
Do you think, Al, that these visions of thousands of people pressed up against the Mexican border on the bridge, and just so people understand, our sources are telling us that none of the migrants have actually crossed into Mexican territory proper. There's kind of a middle ground area where some have broken into, but Mexico claims that it has not allowed the migrants to make it into Mexico. I just wanted to make that statement, and AP has a different take on this. Do you think those images are good for the Democrat Party? You're seeing it right now. There's where the standoff is on the Puente Internacional Sweet Shot.
Yeah, I see the pictures, and I don't. I think we're losing the message battle on this issue. The funny thing is Democrats actually are for security and borders and the rule of law, but you wouldn't know it if you listen to the president, and we're not good at responding. And what we need to do in 2020 and 2018 is respond with more vigor on these things. We're not bad on these issues. We're just not good at arguing about them.
Well, Elizabeth Warren, Newt, this week, I think, took the Democrats way off message with a DNA test. And, I keep thinking of that. Was it Cher Song Cherokee people? Who was that? I can't remember, but it was. She's desperately trying to prove something, which was obviously a huge mistake.
Well, look, you have to wonder. And my party, on occasion, has gone through cycles where it was terminally insane, and it took sometimes 4, 6, 8 years to get out.
Yeah.
If you go back to the 1930s, for example, but this is just almost beyond imagining. First of all, you can sort of see why she and her clever consultants would have said, if you're ever going to run for president, you've got to prove that, in fact, you have not been lying about whether or not you're Native American, not just Native American, whether or not you're Cherokee. So then she goes off. First, the timing again is terrible because it exactly fits the wrong thing. Talk about it the week after the election. Then she goes off anyway because her ego needs it. And they take the test. And the test comes back and basically says that most Americans are at least as much Native American as she is, and that there is zero possibility that you could prove that she was Cherokee based on that test. And in fact, the indications seem to be that if she has any Native American blood, it's actually Latin American, not North American. And you would think she's kind of smart, and then she does this thing, and it's just beyond dumb. I mean, she's going to go from Pocahontas. I have no idea what Trump's new term is going to be, but I'm confident that he's already working on it. And you have the Cherokee Nation, by the way, formally protesting. I mean, these are Democrats who've lost the touch they once had.
I remember, and Newt, I might have been with you. This was some years ago, I think 20 years ago maybe, with Cory Booker, when Cory Booker was considered kind of a third-way Al Fromm kind of Democrat. Remember, it was in Newark, he was a mayor, he was cool, he was working with the Republicans. What the heck happened to that Cory Booker? I mean, I thought he was pretty interesting. He was more of a Bill Clinton Democrat. And then he's different now.
I actually think Senator Booker could unite the party. I do think he's definitely gone to the left to where he was. You're right about that. But he's got amazing charisma, former Division I athlete, mayor of Newark, as he said. And I think he's one of our top 5 or 6 folks who could run in 2020.
Can he unite the party?
I mean, who knows? The Cory Booker who showed up as Spartacus and made a fool of himself at the Senate hearing couldn't. I personally think it's going to be Kamala Harris. I'm going to stick with that unless she doesn't run. I think an African-American woman, former Attorney General from California,
Law and order,
just has enormous resources, and I think she clears the field.
And the Obamas, very close to there. That's the Obamas.
Bottom line is whoever can win.
Obamas are the kingmakers, though, in this party.
If you only nominate whoever can win,
that's what we want.
There'll be a blank space in 2020.
Hey, come on.
All right, gentlemen. Thanks so much. And we're keeping our eyes on the Trump rally from Arizona, and we'll be dipping into it throughout the hour, so stay right with us. Joining me for that Friday Folly segment you all been waiting for, Raymond Arroyo is here with the college mob and a Halloween billboard that will frighten you. Stay there.
You couldn't fire them. We were stuck. We secured $700 billion, and then next year, $716 billion to fully rebuild our great American military. And our military will very shortly be far stronger, far more powerful, modern, the best in the world, and also its jobs. Now, when it comes to the military, I don't care about the job so much. I want the strong military. But as a secondary benefit, every ounce of it is built in the United States, and we make the best planes and the best ships and the best rockets.
All right, we're monitoring that Trump rally in Arizona. We'll bring you any news that comes out of it, but it's Friday. Come on, it means it's time for... All right, Friday Follies. The tolerant left strikes again. A billboard for the new Halloween reboot is hijacked. And an update to a story we brought you earlier in this week, the Kavanaugh witches. For all the details, we're joined by Raymond Arroyo, Fox News contributor, New York Times bestselling author of the Will Wilder series. All right, Raymond, tell me about Henry Kissinger's visit to your alma mater, NYU, earlier this week.
He went to NYU earlier.
95 years old.
Other people have alma maters, the theme songs of the campus, and it's a nice song, a ditty. At NYU, the alma mater was Angry Voices Through a Bullhorn. So when I heard this moment, the way Henry Kissinger was welcomed to NYU, it brought back warm memories. Watch.
Henry Kissinger, on behalf of the International Criminal Court, you are a war criminal. You have committed genocide against the peoples of the world. You're as bad as the Nazis. You don't belong here.
People today, people now, live with the results of what you've done. You deserve to go to jail and then rot in hell.
Look, the man is 95 years old. He's the former Secretary of State. But what you see here is even former GOP officials are not immune from this kind of harassment and upsetment, anger. Why they would allow this was a private event, by the way, an invitation-only event. They harassed him from 5:30 till 8 o'clock.
Why weren't these people thrown out?
Well, they were. They dragged them out. You could see that on the video a little bit. But this went on and on. He barely got through the evening. But, you know, I have to say this. An official who works for the president makes the decision to bomb Cambodia or overthrow a dictator. That's not up to the Secretary of State. Why are they yelling at him? Go yell at Nixon's grave over in Whittier.
Yeah, most of those people weren't even alive.
Belinda.
When this was, most of these people weren't even alive when this was happening.
It's madness.
This is just like reflexive.
Now, believe it or not, Laura, Halloween, the slasher, is back in theaters. It's the 11th film of the franchise. I know you're getting your tickets now. But over on Pico Boulevard in L.A., the billboard that featured killer Michael Myers is wearing a new mask tonight. The street artist Sabo has replaced Michael Myers' head with Maxine Waters. He's also attached the word uncivil Democrats to either side of the image.
Oh, we see it now. I see it.
This
okay.
guy routinely.
Oh, that's enough.
For a moment when I saw it, Laura, I thought it was Tyler Perry's Boo. A Maxine Halloween.
Oh, a Maxine
Remember
Halloween.
Medea did the Halloween movies? I thought maybe.
So how long did that stay up? Do we know?
I don't know. It's still up. It's still up now.
How did he get up there?
Well, he's a former Marine. He punks Hollywood, but the power of image. He's using image to drive home the message, and he said he was inspired by Maxine Waters' June harassment call to go out and harass people in the supermarket, at the gas station.
Well, he's done all sorts of really funny things. Yeah. All right, and before we go, we have an update on the Brooklyn witches that have been putting a hex on Brett Kavanaugh.
Right, 60
the coven.
A whole 60 of them are getting together in Brooklyn at a bookstore to hex Brett Kavanaugh. An exorcist, Father Gary Thomas, out in California, read about this. He's doing masses for Kavanaugh, has alerted a whole network of exorcists in the United States who are also praying for him. And apparently online, people are praying and fasting for Brett Kavanaugh to ward off that hex that you're seeing on your
fasted
screen.
for 6 hours today for Kavanaugh.
I
didn't eat until at least 1 o'clock this afternoon.
You didn't do it for Kavanaugh. You just forgot to eat.
Yeah, I just forgot to eat.
Well, I hope Brett has the holy water. They're praying for you.
But how many exorcists are there in the United States?
More than you'd know. I'm not speaking. I've interviewed a few of them.
Is my head going
to I'm going to move over here.
I was going to see if I could get one of those Halloween heads to spin around.
Oh, great.
But Alexis couldn't get it in time at the CVS.
There are a lot. They're training a lot of them in Rome, and they're bigger numbers than you think in dioceses and approved by bishops. So
all right, Raymond.
Evil is real.
All right, Raymond. Thank you so much. And we're keeping our eyes on that Trump rally. But next, if Democrats needed help embarrassing themselves, Cory Booker stepped in and lit a match to the haystack. What he said about America, coming up next.
These courageous Arizona patriots did not shed their blood, sweat, and tears so that we could sit at home while others tried to erase their legacy and destroy our proud American heritage. For the sake of our freedom and for the sake of our children, we are going to work, we are going to fight, and we are going to win, win, win.
Is on a mission to help the Democratic Party become even more pitiful than it already is. During a speech in South Carolina Thursday, he said this about how un-American our country has become. Watch.
Canada, I can't stand how they're out-Americaning us in Canada. Trudeau, give me a break. Costs about 6 to 7% of median income to go to college. What does it cost in America? 52% of median income. And why are other nations out-Americaning us?
Cory, I'm sure they'll take you at any moment, anytime. Now, this is one of the best and brightest among the Democratic 2020 hopefuls. Joining me now with a reaction, Chairman of the American Conservative Union, Matt Schlapp, former Trump campaign manager and author of the upcoming book, Trump's Enemies, Corey Lewandowski, and conservative commentator, filmmaker Dinesh D'Souza. His film Death of a Nation comes out on DVD and Blu-ray on October 30th. Matt, I want to start with you. Are these really the type of candidates that are going to move the needle for the Democrats? I mean, first of all,
yes.
You can't use American as a verb, okay? But he did. So Canada, universal health care, all the Canadian, now they just legalized marijuana,
That's
so you
right.
can have marijuana. You know, that's not, there's not going to be any problems that stem from that, of course.
It actually is ironic because here you have Cory Booker, this progressive voice, right? Going to run for president, going to lead this charge. He's attacking these elite colleges, right, for costing too much, almost all run by liberals. Tons of government pushes the cost of college up, all the research money, all of the financial aid money, and he's criticizing basically the base of the Democratic Party, you know, all these colleges and universities. So I think he needs to kind of check his own support of what's happening there. I'd love the price of college to come down. Every conservative would too, and we'd like to fire a lot of those professors.
Yeah, then get the government out of the business
Exactly.
of subsidizing college. Cory, if the president found himself in 2020 up against Cory Booker, what would he think about that matchup?
We call that the dream ticket. We're hoping that it's him again and Bloomberg on the ticket against Donald Trump and Mike Pence, because that's a 48 or 49 state victory for the Trump-Pence administration. Look, that's a dream matchup. Cory Booker has lost his Spartacus moment because it wasn't a Spartacus moment. He's lost reality of what's really going on. Look, Canada is a place that has an immigration system based on the need of the country, which is exactly what Cory Booker doesn't want. He wants to have open borders. He wants to let everybody who's coming up from Mexico right now into the country so they can become their next voters. He wants more sanctuary cities. He wants to disband ICE. It's everything that the Democratic Party stands for, which is not what the American people stand for. We want him to run in 2 more years.
Dinesh, I want to put up a photo, and I don't know if you'll be able to see it where you are. This was given to us tonight by someone on the scene in Mexico. This is the bridge, Puente Internacional Suichate, where 4,500 migrants are in a standoff against about 1,000 federales, Mexican police. No Mexicans have crossed that bridge yet and gotten into Mexico. The AP apparently is wrong about that. But it's a precarious situation. 4,500 people spending the night on that bridge. 300 have been processed into Mexico, refugee applications. Dinesh, how does this issue, those images tonight, with the violence that has broken out in this crowd as well, how does this play today in the midterm politics?
I think that the Democrats are headed for a disaster, if you may almost call it Kavanaugh proportions. In other words, they have gone from a battle in which a man of impeccable reputation was accused without a single ounce of corroboration, something that helped to unify the Republican Party, fire up the Republican base, make the Democrats look like they believe in guilty until proven innocent. And now they move to this, which is a horde of people moving inexorably toward